So we touched on alpha briefly. Let's go ahead and take our alpha menu here. We'll grab that little white dot and drag it on our docket on the side here. So like I said, we mentioned alpha briefly when we were doing the to mesh and from mesh to create our multi-alpha brushes. But if you go into here under modify, you're going to see there's some new stuff in here. And one of them is streak length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my standard brush. Actually, let's hit the B key and then we'll hit C and then choose clay buildup. And this clay buildup has a alpha already selected. You can select other alphas in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep the square one. And if we do the square alpha, you're going to see this is the stroke we're getting. Now, if we take the streak length and we crank it all the way up, you don't have to crank it all the way up, but you can if you want to kind of just expose what it's doing here. You're seeing it's putting streaks within your alpha. So now when I drag this out, we're starting to get a streaky result. You can crank up the intensity, you can crank up the fall off, crank up the strength, crank up the density of them. If you crank them up really high, it's just going to turn into a block. So you can kind of play with these settings here to kind of dial in exactly that kind of stroke that you want. This will give you a very kind of natural kind of look here. Another cool thing you can do with this is instead of using this to sculpt, what you can do is turn off Z-Add, turn on RGB. We have white selected, so I'm going to go here to color, fill object. I'm going to choose a red color here. So with RGB selected, what I can do is I can now basically paint with very nice fall off, kind of streaky fall off brush strokes here. If you change your RGB intensity down quite a bit, you can kind of see, you can go in here and you can kind of just feather stroke. You can go light and then heavy with your Z intensity here. You can even maybe play with the, underneath the brush menu here, we went over this briefly under the alpha and texture. You can do this high magnify, so you can try maybe setting that high magnify to 3 and see if that'll get you any other results as far as being able to kind of magnify your stroke when your Z intensity goes up. But I turn this back down to 1 and you can see just right off the bat you're getting a very nice kind of naturalistic brush feel as you're using a brush alpha with alpha modify strength attributes turned on.